First of all, thank you everyone for your time today. Over the next 20 minutes, I'm really going to be covering, four main sort of themes to set the sort of agenda for today. So theme number one is we're going to talk about the rise of mobile and how that has sort of been impacting the wealth management firms overall. And in our experience as well, what have the challenges wealth management houses faced when it comes to being able to deliver a premium client experience consistently across the entire client segment that they have. We'll talk about how wealth managers can potentially build differentiation, in this increasingly competitive landscape. And finally, we'll talk about how Moksha can come in and potentially help you by leveraging a one-stop hub. What are the sort of benefits that you can expect with a one-stop type of solution. So let's get started by actually, exploring digitization in financial services. Of course, it's such a broad sort of topic altogether, and digitization is almost like a keyword. So to narrow the domain a little bit, what we're going to be focusing on today is digitization in business processes that require client interaction, right? And in this specific domain, the best type of solution is a hybrid solution, where you're going to be able to leverage the strengths and efficiency gains in automation, as my predecessor just mentioned and talked about. And also you're going to need that human touch to maintain that personalization. As he was also talking about, there is a large amount of money involved when it comes to wealth transactions. You're going to still need that, personalization sort of touch. And to try and address, what these on-demand type of service models are going to be in this financial space, well, we're going to need to start consider some of these questions, which is, how do the client experience look like today? How are they sort of getting service today? And we're going to look to answer a very specific question over the next 17 minutes or so, which is how can organizations create a managed, modernized digital experience to build a customer relationship, a persistent customer relationship. And to look at on-demand type of services, let's start looking at the market expectations. Well, over the past 5 years, market expectations have evolved quite rapidly. Due to the advent of mobile phones and smartphone apps really been on the rise. And it's apps like Uber are the ones that are really driving this on-demand sort of change. It's not only in the consumer space, customers are now expecting that across the entire business processes. So every part of, every facet of business transactions and engagement they touch on, they want to be able to connect in an on-demand manner, which is personalized, it's streamlined, it's at their convenience. So let's start look at what an on-demand service model can actually look like within financial services. So if we go back to the example of Uber to look at what an on-demand service model even looks like, well, Uber actually compressed the entire customer journey in one application. So everything from getting from point A to point B was tied together in a really nice experience for the customer. But how did it maintain consistency? Well, before Uber came along, taxi services are everywhere. They had no idea, where their drivers are. How long is the trip taking? What's the customer feedback to the service delivery that they're getting? They weren't able to get this. And if they're not able to get this and they can't maintain oversight, they can't manage, the experience and the delivery of their services. Now, when Uber came in, they really flipped the script altogether. With Uber, Uber has access to entire data of, where the drivers are, what's the route they took, what's the customer feedback. They can get real-time, almost customer feedback. So this gave Uber a way to have complete oversight. And once they have complete oversight, they can have management into the client service delivery. And that's what makes it, they can manage a completely consistent premium experience. And looking to apply that to financial services, well, what can an on-demand service model look like there? Well, we first need to start by analyzing the nuances in a relationship like in wealth management. So the first thing there is we have a lot of persistent relationships between the client and at least one individual inside the firm, perhaps more. And with these persistent relationships, there are also document-heavy exchange of conversations that are taking place. And with this amount of different documents, they are complex in nature. It's going to cause structured and unstructured workflows to take place. And because of this, and because of the content that's being discussed, there's a high requirements for security because of as I mentioned, the nature of the discussions that are taking place. And compliance. Well, why is it compliance? Well, number one, of course, there's the regulations that you need to comply with, but it's the brand reputation as well. One of the major compliance breaches is actually RMs using WhatsApp to communicate with their clients. And why is that? Well, clients prefer using WhatsApp because it's more convenient to them. See, RMs have to go and meet them where they are. And that's the big compliance challenge that firms are really looking to face. And especially we are seeing that in the news recently, even in the APAC regions. So let's look at how are these sort of client interactions today being managed? Well, way back when there was only brick and mortar sort of offices, the only way you could do business was only through phone calls and in-person meetings. Since the advent of technology through desktop computers and mobile phones, we've evolved, of course, to emails, attachments, and with mobile phones really on the rise, we've seen messaging also being thrown in. Now, with COVID, we were heavily reliant on video meetings, and due to the convenience of it, I really don't see video meetings really transitioning away anytime soon. And when it comes to those attachments that you're going to email to them, well, they're normally stored in some document management system over there. You're going to leverage some collaboration tools to facilitate the conversation, whether it's internal or external. You're going to have back-end systems like CRMs, where it is coming to the RM has to come in. They always have to periodically update the back-end system, so there can be some sort of an oversight maintained. And finally, when it comes to e-signature, it's that final process to go ahead and complete that transaction. So what this automatically does is introducing multiple different fragmented, disconnected communication channels, which leads to not a complete lack of oversight. And again, when you don't have a complete lack of oversight, you cannot manage the service your clients are being delivered on. So hopefully you can sort of see similarities in terms of what taxi companies were facing before Uber came along. This has only been worse with the rise of mobile. More and more clients are now looking to evaluate the ease of doing business with a firm before they even sign up for any form of service. Over COVID, wealth managers who actually did have an app, they saw about a 36% increase in mobile app usage. Yet, mobile apps across the wealth management industry, the mobile portals specifically, have been comparatively significantly poor compared to other industries. Wealth managers have not been able to leverage the potential of bringing in that mobile traffic and converting that into real proactive conversations, which can lead to an increase in number of transactions taking place. And it's already true today, but even more so in the future, it's going to be incredibly important, is any form of a digital app or digital service is now going to become the new front door for investors. Customer satisfaction today is already being driven by how easily they can do business in a secure manner at their own convenience through some form of digital service. They want to be able to have human interaction right through the application, so that, as my predecessor was mentioning, so they can have a feeling of trust, and it's convenient for them. So now that we've talked about what potentially we are seeing the challenges today, let's also talk about how wealth managers can potentially build market differentiation in this increasingly competitive landscape. Well, number one, the first thing to note is it's actually very difficult for a wealth manager to build a competitive edge purely on the services they're providing, which are the products that they're offering. Essentially, the products they have access to, on an average level, they're going to be quite similar. There are going to be some outliers where some of them can deliver significantly higher returns, for example, but almost always, it's always in the same order of magnitude. So you're always going to have similar returns. So when you're looking to differentiate yourself in the market, you really have to look elsewhere. And where can that be? Well, one of those ways is how the kind of experience you can deliver to your customers. If the experience is as good as it can be, well, now what you're going to be doing is you're going to build loyalty. That brand loyalty is to the brand and not any specific individual as well. That's a key thing that we're actually going to explore in more detail in just a few moments. But the key thing that we're also seeing is an unrivaled digital experience in the market is what's really going to entice customers. And in addition to that, a digital experience is not also going to provide you with internal productivity gains and efficiency gains. So now that we've talked about the challenges and how we can build market differentiation, well, this is where Moksha comes in. This is where we can come in and help you. Moksha, as a company, what we provide for wealth management firms everywhere is an ability for you to manage structured and unstructured workflows with your clients through your own mobile application. If you don't have a mobile application, we can go ahead and build you one, or we can embed that into your existing mobile app as well. But this concept of being able to manage the structured and unstructured workflows all through your application, well, what that also gives you is complete oversight and data. So every interaction you have with your customers and your clients is all going through your own mobile application. It's fully integrated, which means you can make a lot of analytics, you can make oversight on it, you can have, and that's where you can manage the experience you're delivering and make sure it's consistently being delivered across the entire client experience. In addition to that, you can also see an increase in Net Promoter Score. You can see an increase in number of transactions and the velocity of transactions. And we'll go into this in more detail with the live case study that we've got. But now that I've touched a bit about what we can do, let's talk about how we can actually do it. So when it comes to defining what a business process is, when we're going to talk about is let's look at what some of these business processes actually are. So business processes in wealth management, as we see it, come from client onboarding to periodic quarterly performance reviews, to a sales pitch, to an execution of that sales pitch as well. So these are the kind of conversations, these structured and unstructured business processes you do with your client every single day. And this is how you can achieve them. Well, the first thing, as I mentioned, we do is we'll provide you with a white label mobile application. And if you already have one, we can go ahead and integrate that into your existing mobile application. So this is what the client portal looks like. The clients come in, they open the application, they get greeted, and then they're going to see the team of advisors that they're working with at their wealth manager, at the wealth management firm. This is a direct line of communication the clients have to communicate with you, your advisors, right through your own mobile application from end to end. Below that, they're also going to have access to the static content that a traditional mobile application would have. These are the apps that you're already used to and know today. Below that is where you can have these structured conversations take place, whether it's your portfolio reviews, whether it is your new investment opportunities. Maybe you're looking to liquidate certain assets. All of these are different processes. It's going to have a dedicated workspace, and you're going to have specific stakeholders having access to those dedicated workspaces for that conversation. And all of these can automatically also be, if required, be escalated into a video meeting as well, or a voice call. Again, taking place right through your own mobile application as well. What you saw was on the mobile side. Well, there's a seamless transition on the web as well. So anything you can do on the mobile can also be extended on the web interface, giving your clients the ability to interact with you at the time and place and the device that's most convenient to them. And then on the right-hand side, what you also have seeing is actually the business portal. This is what your wealth managers, your advisors, and your internal staff are going to use. So your clients, they come in, they receive services from the client portal, and your advisors, they have access to the business portal. This is what they can use to communicate internally within the organization, but more importantly, they can look at the client's incoming sort of messages and respond to them and really provide curated advice. So now let's actually take a look at an example sort of process. So we can look at an example of an investment transaction, how that can be achieved from start to finish. So let's say, for example, you have a set of clients, or an RM has a set of clients. What he can do is that he can broadcast a potential investment opportunity to the entire set of clients that's of interest to them. So we're going to be able to leverage secure messaging, and you can go ahead and broadcast that with a document as well, right through the application. Now, based on the feedback and maybe questions they have, the RM can go ahead and annotate on top of that investment product that essentially that's already been shared with them. So they can annotate right on the document itself and comment on it. But more than that, what they can also do is he can record a small video clip, with his video, his voice, and his annotations right on top of that file as well. So it's a really personalized pitch, essentially, and a response to the question that the client is giving him. So they can go ahead and they can send that over to the client. If there's working on any to-dos or deadlines that need to be managed, well, we've got that as well for you to manage any through task management as well. As I mentioned, you can escalate that into a video meeting. Now, let's say, for example, the client actually needs to change his risk portfolio or risk appetite before he actually he can go ahead and act on this specific product, the investment product. Well, we also have co-browsing built in. So the client and the RM can go ahead, come on a meeting together. They can co-browse where the RM can go ahead, help the client fill in this relevant documentation. He can work with the client to actually help him fill in that documentation. That can be moved on into a digital signature for any executions of that document or form as well. And finally, we can also create an investment transaction card as well, summarizing exactly what the transaction is that the client wants to move forward on and execute. So from start to finish, the pitch to the entire transaction all takes place in one platform. We've also got the management oversight as well. As I mentioned, every information is tracked, it's recorded, you can go ahead and access that. So the management team at the firm, who are managing the RMs, they have access to every interaction their RMs are having with their clients. So they can have complete oversight and they can manage the experience their clients are providing to their clients, making sure it's consistent and it's premium, exactly what the brand expects. We also have the admin portal. Now, the admin portal is where you can go ahead and manage these relationships between a client and between a specific relationship manager. You can access, the entire data trails as well right through the admin portal. But something that's really key here is, if an RM actually leaves, there's always a flight risk that they're going to take some clients with them. Well, again, through the admin portal, you can easily manage the relationship. And the new RM has access to all the previous data. Again, tying the loyalty of the client to the brand and not any specific individual. So Moksha has also been named as the best digital banking solution in the recent Tech Awards. And very quickly, I'm also going to talk about who we've worked with already. So we were founded back in 2012. Since then, we've worked with multiple different banks across the globe. Citibank was actually our very first client. We got a deployment with them in India, and since then we've expanded our relationship significantly. We've worked with Standard Chartered and Raiffeisen Bank as well. Raiffeisen Bank we've deployed on priority and business banking as well. We've got Stonish Fleming as a client, which is the largest family office in Europe. Van Lanschot is also a private bank, the oldest private bank actually in Netherlands as well. So these are a few of the clients that we're actually working with in mass affluent sector, in priority banking, in private banking, and family offices. So we sort of provide the entire segment of wealth, and we've got solutions to cater for the various segments as well. And let's also take a short minute to actually take a look at what the impact of deploying Moksha was. So as I mentioned, Citibank was one of our clients. Let's take a look at what Citi sort of experienced. Well, Citi deployed a solution called Citi Gold. This was for their mass affluent and their priority banking segment. Citi Gold saw a 10% increase in their Net Promoter Score. They saw a 200% increase in their advisor productivity. They saw a 3x increase in the number of transactions per relationship manager per month. And they saw a 3.5x growth in their customer base over 3 years. So these are, the KPIs that you can potentially expect by deploying a one-stop solution, which really ties in every interaction you have with your clients and modernizing the way you do business with them. We can deploy either on-premise or on a private cloud or even on a public cloud. As I mentioned, we have SDKs and APIs to integrate with all of your existing banking tech stack you already have, whether that's your existing app or your core banking system, any of your backend system. We can easily integrate with them with our APIs. And of course, we offer bank-grade security. Working with an essential solution being designed with banks, it really has security built in. Well, that's Moksha. Hopefully, you enjoyed that talk. If you do have any questions, we do have a booth outside. Please feel free to come there. Thank you so much for your time.